Hey there, mamas and parents. I'm Katelyn, the founder and CEO of YourFulfillingMotherhood.com. Today, you're going to learn 12 movements and positions that will help engage your baby into your pelvis and hopefully get them into an optimal position to speed up your labor. Your baby's head needs to become engaged in your pelvis for labor to progress effectively. But not only is it essential that your baby is engaged in your pelvis, but also that they can get into an optimal position. One reason someone would want to do movements and positions to help their baby engage into their pelvis is to try to prevent an occiput posterior labor, a breech baby, or to start naturally inducing labor. Using belly mapping, you can determine if your baby is breech, head down, occiput anterior, or occiput posterior. The optimal position for your baby to be in is left occiput anterior, which means your baby's head is down, the front of their face is towards mom's tailbone, and they're also a bit to mom's left. If your baby is head down but facing the other way, this is called occiput posterior, meaning their face is towards the front of mom's pelvis. An occiput posterior baby often causes back labor because with each contraction, you can feel their head moving down your spine and tailbone, which is also a more challenging descending path for baby versus the occiput anterior path. Thus, why these labors tend to also be slower. And parents will often like to be aware if baby is breech, especially if planning on a vaginal breech delivery, as these can be a bit more complicated. Now let's talk about engagement and oxytocin. When labor and childbirth are approaching, you're going to start wanting your baby to become engaged in your pelvis rather than floating above the pelvis in amniotic fluid. Once baby's head is engaged, this will create a feedback loop. Oxytocin is the hormone that produces contractions, and the pressure on your cervix from baby's head will tell your brain to create more oxytocin to induce even more pressure down on your baby and stronger contractions on the uterus. The pressure from their head will also start to slowly thin and dilate your cervix. So, the lower your baby is, the more pressure is applied on your cervix and more natural hormones are produced to create stronger and more effective contractions. Now, let's talk for a minute about your pelvis during pregnancy. Your pelvis is a bony structure with ligaments that allow for some mobility between the bones. And during pregnancy, a hormone called relaxin allows for even more movement of the ligaments in the pelvis for childbirth. What will help your baby descend into an optimal position for labor is creating movement and open space in your pelvis. Now let's also touch on when it matters that your baby is engaged in your pelvis. Technically, it only matters if you're in labor because baby can drop in a matter of minutes. But there are still things you can do to help this process and try to ensure your baby engages in an optimal position. For my next pregnancy, I will definitely be using these movements and positions since my firstborn was occiput posterior, which led to me having back labor and I believe a little bit longer of a labor as well. Keep in mind if you have had a back injury, a broken tailbone, bad fall, or car accident, this may lead to your pelvis not allowing as much movement. Therefore, making it a point to get your pelvis moving and open can improve your baby's position. Now let's jump into the 12 movements and positions that can help realign your baby's position in your pelvis and hopefully lead you to a faster, easier labor. Number 1, forward leaning inversion. In addition to engaging your baby's head, the forward leaning inversion is fantastic for attempting to turn a breech baby. Start by kneeling on the edge of a couch or your bed. As long long as you're low enough to the ground, and gently lower your arms to the ground and rest down on your forearms with your hands together and elbows facing outward. Your head should be hanging down between your arms and not resting on the floor. Take 3 deep breaths in this position, and this should last for about 30 seconds. In this position, you can either let your belly hang, or you can keep your lower back straightened to allow your ligaments to have more mobility. After 30 seconds, gently push yourself back up and kneel with your knees together to return to a seated position on your bottom. Move to the side for your bottom to sit on the couch or bed. Then swing your legs out, keeping your knees together. This position works so well because leaning forward like this stretches your ligaments and causes the pelvis to reposition. And kneeling afterward is a crucial part of this as well because it allows your ligaments to resettle in proper alignment. Number 2, open knee to chest. This is an alternative to the forward leaning inversion. You can do this 1 to 2 times per day for 30 minutes in your pregnancy and early labor. Number 3, sideways stair walk. This is another way to create more space in your pelvis for baby to move down. Number 4, forward leaning. For this position, you can use a chair, pillows, get on your hands and knees, or use a birth ball. This position helps promote more space in your pelvis, and it uses gravity to help baby move. Number 5, exaggerated left side lying. This is a fantastic position while you're resting to create more space in your pelvis very easily. Number 6, posture. Having a straight spine will encourage your baby to round their back against your belly so that their face is pointing towards your spine, which is called occiput anterior, which is the optimal position for a comfortable and efficient labor. Imagine pulling a string up from your tailbone to the top of your head to create this good posture. Also ensure your knees are at a 90-degree angle and try to avoid crossing your legs because this will make your pelvis misaligned. Instead, keep your feet flat on the ground to ensure your pelvis stays aligned. Number 7, through the hole. This is a stretch that will allow your pelvis to open more. Lay on your back with your knees bent, feet flat on the ground, and raise one leg to rest your ankle on the other knee. Now lock your hands around the back of your thigh with one arm through the hole. Then gently pull towards your belly for a nice stretch. Take 2 to 3 deep breaths in this position, and you can do this 2 to 3 times a day or at least 3 times a week for it to be effective. Number 8, pelvic tilts. This movement often brings relief to women dealing with lower back pain in pregnancy, and it also helps reposition an occiput posterior baby to occiput anterior, the optimal position. Plus, once you're at least 38 weeks, this movement helps to engage baby deeper into your pelvis. First, get on your hands and knees with your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips with your legs hip width apart. Do your best to keep a neutral or straight spine, then round your lower back upward and tuck your pelvis inwards towards your belly button. Ensure you're also pressing the tops of your feet into the floor while doing this and avoid flexing your butt muscles. Simply tuck your hips inward while rounding your back upwards. You could also do pelvic tilts using a birth ball if you would like. Sit on your birth ball with your knees at a 90-degree angle and place your hands on your knees. Then roll your back to create a C shape. Then move your back gently back forwards, making another C shape the other way. When rolling forwards, your back doesn't need to make a super exaggerated position. You don't want to strain anything by exaggerating the stretch too much. You can start these pelvic tilts at 32 weeks with your maternity care providers, okay? And you can practice them 1 time a day. Number 9, walking. Walking encourages movement and swaying in your pelvis to help baby move and navigate their way. Curb walking is also fantastic to encourage your baby to rotate off of the pelvis and descend further. Number 10, chiropractic care. If there's a misalignment in your pelvis, making it extra difficult for your baby to come through, seeing a prenatal chiropractor may be beneficial to correct this misalignment. Number 11, prenatal yoga. Prenatal yoga helps if you have a tight pelvic floor or if you're experiencing pain there in your pelvic floor area. Stretching can help loosen everything up. But remember, you're more prone to injury towards the end of pregnancy, so take it easy and listen to your body if you choose to practice prenatal yoga. Number 12, a birth ball. Doing big wide circles, little circles, or pelvic tilts on a birth ball can all help to increase movement in your pelvis. You can do these movements at whatever speed feels good to you, and you can do these movements while relaxing, working, watching TV, etc. Birth balls are great because you can practice good posture, pelvic movement, and you're also avoiding hard pressure on your vagina. So what do you do if you're in labor and your baby still hasn't fully descended? If your baby still hasn't dropped into your pelvis, when you go into labor, you're going to want to practice all of these movements and positions throughout labor until your baby does descend. The positions and movements I recommend most for in labor include keeping an upright posture, walking, practicing curb walking, doing big hip circles on a birth ball, tucking your pelvis in on a birth ball like a humping movement, side walking on the stairs, and open knee to chest. Remember to follow your instincts. Continue doing what feels good and avoid things that don't feel great. Overall, move and stretch in ways that feel good. Remember that birth balls are a beneficial tool, and see a chiropractor if you think that's necessary for you. The goal here is to get your pelvis aligned, moving, and open so that your baby can come down with room to get into the optimal left occiput anterior position. Remember, you got this, mama. You are encouraged, educated, and empowered. I really hope that this video helped you. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!